Don't worry, I'm recording it. All right, we're recording. I'm going to mute everybody now and we're just going to get started.
Okay.
And the YouTubers will have to just live without it. Bear with me a moment, please. Pressing buttons, pressing buttons.
You have to tell your wife, Julie, that it was not our fault.
Yeah, I'm going to blame you, Tina. I'm going to say
Okay.
Tina did it. All right,
Okay.
Here I am muting people. All right, mute all, my favorite part of the meeting. Just be quiet, all of you. All right, I'm gonna, well, people can't unmute themselves, people can't rename themselves, people can't start video, and we're going. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening for our August monthly general meeting of the Mesa-Foothills Democratic Club. It's Wednesday, August 4th, 2021. I'm Mitch Wagner. I'm VP Communications for the Mesa-Foothills Democratic Club. And this is hopefully going to be our last Zoom meeting. We're scheduled to meet Wednesday, September 1st, back at the La Mesa Community Center, and we're certainly looking forward to that. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's stay in the moment tonight. We have got a fantastic speaker lineup this evening. We're going to start by hearing about the schemes and scams that prey on older people, but really they prey on everybody. Our speakers are Sally Kim Westlake of the California Department of Insurance and Kevin Durawa of the California Contractor State License Board. They'll tell us what the scammers are doing and how you can protect yourself and the people you care about. And we're also going to talk about the recall election. We'll hear from Ryan Hurd, Executive Director of the San Diego Democratic Party, to learn what the party is doing to keep Governor Newsom in office and how you can and should help. As always, part of my script here says, as always, we're streaming on our YouTube channel, but we are not because I can't get it to work. However, we'll do our best to post a recording up there after the fact. Let's see, if you have anything you need to bring to our attention or you notice any technical problem or anything disrupting the meeting, please message either of the two of my board colleagues, Evelyn Andrade and Katie Seghetti, or message me. So let's get started. We're going to start by hearing, as always, from Club President Tina Reinberg with a welcome and comments. I'm going to let you unmute yourself and you can begin. Hi, Tina.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Yes, this will probably be our last meeting on Zoom. We will be meeting next month at the community center where we have always been meeting. And just a quick kind of hands up, not the thing, but how many of us had to work at least at some point in our life for minimum wage? Yeah, right? You know that one of our candidates for governor wants to eliminate the minimum wage. This is the reason why Democrats govern better than Republicans. We really, really need to beat this recall badly. Just vote no and then turn it in. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to bubble in anybody's name. You should not bubble in anybody's name. You should just bubble in no and then be done. It's really, really, really important. And my reasons for supporting Gavin are many and wide. But yeah, that is one of them. The Republicans are just showing their awfulness in this, the people that are running. So I've told this often, I would support the bear, but not the guy that walks around with the bear. But anyway, we're going to hear from Ryan. We're very fortunate that Ryan's going to be joining us in a little bit to talk more about this. But please, and if you have any questions about how you can help out, contact the county party at SD Democrats, plural, SDDEMOCRATS.org. And you can find all kinds of information about how you can help out. Also, those of you that live in the city of La Mesa, you might want to start stretching or something now because you're going to have another election in November after the September one. So you're going to have to stay limber all fall long. And the rest of us will do our best to try and help in the La Mesa elections. So that's all I've got. Thanks so much for being here. Next month, we will be meeting in person. Be prepared to show a vaccination record. And that's pretty much all I've got. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you on the other side in real life.
Thank you, Tina. All right, next up, we're going to hear from Steve Destianka about Oktoberfest. I'm gonna unmute you, Steve, momentarily. Steve, I don't see. Oh, there you are. All right. All right, I've asked you to unmute. Steve, take it.
Hey, hi, everybody. Steve Yashanka here, quickly to talk about Oktoberfest. I need you, our club needs everybody to volunteer for Oktoberfest, getting a little bit ahead of the recall, but after Oktoberfest is Friday, October 1st, Saturday, October 2nd, Sunday, October 3rd. In total, we need almost 50 people to volunteer. It's at least 3 people a shift. There's lots to do. It's not just one person a shift. Anybody you know, your spouse, your family, friends, talk to them. So far, only 12 people have volunteered. We need you folks to come out. I've already put in the chat to volunteer, email me, syashanka@cox.net. It's in the chat for the spelling. So we need you to block out time now because everybody's going to forget because there's a lot of things going on. Travel, recall, election in La Mesa. Don't forget Oktoberfest. Thank you, everybody.
Steve, why is Oktoberfest important to those of us who are here to elect Democrats?
Okay. Mitch, that's an excellent question. At Oktoberfest, we don't just sit there looking pretty, or in my case, kind of ugly, but we get to talk about our club. We get to talk about why it's important to be Democrats, how we govern better, and to talk about our club. We also do voter registration, and believe it or not, we register anybody, Democrats, Republicans, declined to state, everyone, unlike those on the other side, we register everyone, but we get to do a lot of talking about why it's important to be a Democrat, what we do in the state, in the county, and in La Mesa. So basically, we show folks that we are the force and the dark side. We don't talk too much about the dark side, but we talk about what we do better.
All right. Thank you, Steve. And thank you for also demonstrating that I do not just mispronounce the names of POCs, because I've been sensitive about that, but I'll mispronounce a white guy's name too. I'm equal opportunity.
Very good.
So let's move on. Let's move on to the first of our main subjects. We'll hear about the schemes and scams that prey on older people, but really preying on anybody. Our speakers are Sally Kim Westlake of the California Department of Insurance and Kevin Durawa of the California Contractor State License Board. So I will just turn it over to whichever you two wants to go first. What do you say?
I can go first. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear, Kevin. Thank you.
Great. I'm going to share my screen. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me today. So I'm going to talk to you about, oh, I'm sharing the wrong screen. Oh, that's not good. Sorry about that. I'm still showing the wrong screen.
While you're doing that, I'll just let everybody know, by the way, if you have questions or comments for the speakers, please leave them in chat. And we'll take them either as we go or at the end of this session, whichever seems to work best.
Very strange. I'm choosing PowerPoint and it's showing something else. Are you guys seeing PowerPoint or no? You're seeing my desktop.
Yeah, Kevin,
Well,
I can.
maybe,
Would you like me to go
you saw my
first?
PowerPoint. Yeah,
Yeah.
why don't you go
Sally-
first, Sally? I apologize.
No problems. Hey, it happens to me. Okay, let me go to my share screen. Let's see, it works for me. Okay,
Yep.
you guys
There
see
you go,
everything here?
PowerPoint.
Perfect. And you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you, Democrats, for inviting me to join you here today. And you know, every Zoom meeting, every presentation is different. And I was really surprised when I logged in at 6:45 to do a sound check that you guys were all already on. But then I remembered looking at your website that you guys had a social hour. And that's why you had this great lively meeting going on. Again, thank you for inviting me to be here. And it looks like I might have some tech issues because my slides are already moving ahead of me. But go over real quickly the California Department of Insurance. And I am going to have to stop because it's going, hold on one second. Okay, we'll try that again. California Department of Insurance. So we're the state agency that regulates all lines of insurance. We regulate insurance company, agents and brokers. There's 1,400 approximate insurance companies and about 450,000 agents and brokers that we license. But basically everything that we do, protecting consumers, maintaining the rates, is all to protect consumers from fraud and abuse. And that's our major topic today, right? So California is the largest insurance market in the United States and fourth largest in the world. What does that mean? It means insurance companies collect over $340 billion in premiums every year. That's what you and I all pay in insurance premiums. That's how big California insurance market is. Prop 103 allows Californians to elect our insurance commissioners, and Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara came into office in about 2019. And these are some of the things that he took action during the pandemic. But one of the highlights here is the $1.75 billion in premium refunds to motorists. Because when we went to, at the start of the pandemic and we were at a stay-at-home order, the insurance commissioner realized that, hey, we're not driving. That's less risk, so we should pay less for auto insurance. So he ordered the insurance companies to pay back premiums. So all of you should have received some form of either credit on your policies or a refund check, but that totaled over $1.75 billion. And as a consumer, if you ever have a problem or a question with your insurance company, agent or broker or lines of insurance, you need to file a complaint through us. We're the state agency that can help. And through that process of consumers filing complaints, we were able to return over $254 million back to the consumers in the year 2020. So let's talk about why seniors are the largest population targeted for scams. Now, I can look at the Zoom cameras and realize not everyone is a senior yet, but we'll all get there. So the information I'm providing to you today is valuable and useful to everyone because it's information you can use now to protect yourself. But basically, there are over 77 million baby boomers and that are moving into the senior years, and with approximately 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day, we've seen an increase in the number of scams and schemes targeted against seniors. And so why are seniors big targets? Because you've accumulated wealth. You have monies in your retirement plans. You have money in your home. You have life insurance policies. And so because of that, a lot of the scammers, bad agents out there want a piece of that pie. And that's what they're basing their scams and schemes on, is to take a portion of your assets, your hard-earned monies. And another issue, why are seniors such big targets? Seniors are just too nice. Most seniors anyways. They're from a different generation. They're so sweet, they're so nice, and they engage with strangers and people, they're just willing to talk to people. That is not the same with the younger generation. So one of the biggest insurance scams that we see against seniors are annuities. So what is an annuity? So it's an insurance contract between where you buy or transfer a lump sum of money or make payments to an insurance company, and they issue you a contract. And in turn, they say, okay, we're going to give you back such and such figure of amount for a certain period of time with a rate of return. And so you think, great, this is more like a savings account. Yes, I could use it for retirement. And that's exactly what an annuity is. It's usually used as an investment vehicle for retirement. Annuities are great for some and lousy for others. And that's what you have to determine. But what's good about the annuity is it's tax deferred. It can be used as a tax deferred account, and that's why it's a great retirement account. What's bad about it is that there is a big upfront commission, and that commission goes to the agent that sells you that annuity. So unfortunately, some of these bad agents want to sell it to you whether it's right for you or not. And that's the big issue. Another part of the annuity is that there is a big 7 to up to 10 year surrender charge. So annuities It's great for some, lousy for others. You should never buy an annuity with your entire emergency money market, short-term savings account monies. So if your financial advisor gives you a call and says, hey, Joe, we think I found this great annuity for you. It's going to be in line with your investment portfolio, with your risk tolerance. It's going to help you achieve these goals. Great, that annuity might be perfect for you. But if you have an agent from the bank that calls you and says, hey, Sue, we noticed that you had a $50,000 CD that came due. I found this great annuity for you. That's usually not the best approach, because that person has no idea what your financial portfolio, your risk tolerance, what that $50,000 is for. Maybe that's your emergency cash that should never be tied up into an annuity. So we want to make sure you stay focused and that you educate yourself and determine whether an annuity is right for you or wrong. And if you ever get approached and you are kind of like, I'm not sure, call us, give us a call. You can see the phone number and our website information at the bottom of each slide. Call us and say, hey, I've been approached by this agent and I have a question about what he said. I don't understand. Help me understand. We can do that for you. You can also go on our website and look up the agent's information, his license number, make sure that he is up to date and there isn't any issues with his license. So another scam that's that we're seeing out there, and this was new to me, so I wanted to make sure I touch bases on it with you, and it has to do with towing companies, towing cars. There's the three types of scams that it's related to the towing trucks is patrol towing, where they have a spotter who drives around and looks for cars that are illegally parked. And they'll call their tow truck and they tow it and impound it. And then you have to pay to get it out. Well, that's illegal for a spotter to call a tow truck on you. If you parked illegally, that's on you. But the only person that can have your car towed is usually the law enforcement officer. Or if you're parked on private property, maybe that person can have it towed. But we can't have some spotter illegally just tow your car just so that they can make money off you. So you want to be aware of that. Also, inflation. They are charging you numerous fees. They have your car towed and they say, oh, well, you know, administrative fees. We had to charge you extra for taking pictures. We noticed this, and just add on fees on top of fees. And that's something that your insurance company doesn't cover. What that means is you have to pay out of pocket. And this is like a well-organized, scam that several people are involved in. And then they may also tow your car to their own body shop that they already have a relationship with. And you don't want to have that done either. So what you want to know about these towing scams is you should know what's covered under your auto policy. You should already know who you can call in case you're in an accident and in case you need a tow truck. You should never let somebody talk you into, oh, we can tow it over here for you. You make that decision. Don't sign any documents. Don't sign anything that's not filled out. Make sure you know exactly what you're going to be charged to have that car towed, and it's towed to a place that you agreed upon. And that's just another simple scam, but it's taking money out of all of our consumers' pockets. So please be aware of that. And insurance scams and agents. Everyone, including myself, my husband, and their families, been invited to free seminars, free meals, right? I mean, you get what you pay for. The reason you're invited there is because you kind of meet some criteria. And it usually has to do with the fact that you own your home. You must have some assets. And they want that information from you. That's why you're invited to the free seminar, because they want to sell you something. And most of the time it's to get more information, financial information from you, so that they could either steal your identity, steal financial information, or sell you something in the long end. So free seminars, free meals, great, go. If you can say no, if you can go to any seminar, any free meals, just like your, what are those seminars you go to where they sell, you can get on a free vacation and they try to sell you timeshare, right? Go, get the free seminar, get the free meal, take the information. Just do not give any personal information at that seminar. Take the information, walk away from it, and then you can follow up and see if this is something you really need. Okay. There's agents that are offering to create or update a living trust for free, right? Again, you get what you pay for. Why would they do it for free? Because they want your financial information. They want to know why you have an investable assets. They want to get that information so they can make money or steal your information, steal something from you. So again, you want to be real careful. And those are called like living trust mills. Okay, that currently happens. There are no quote senior retirement specialist, living trust specialist for seniors. Those are titles that they've given themselves. There is no governmental agency that's given them that title that they've earned. There is no credential related to that other than themselves saying, oh, I'm a specialist. Hey, you can trust me. So just make sure that you do your due diligence and look at who it is you're potentially doing business with and who you're willing to share your personal information with. There are special laws when it comes to insurance for seniors ages 65 or older. They have special protection, which means if you're sold an annuity or life insurance contract, you actually have 30 days to rescind that contract. Anyone under 65, you bought something, you're stuck with it unless there was fraud involved on the other side. But for seniors, you have that special protection. And seniors should know that when an agent calls you and offers to give you a presentation at your home and you're like interested, so you invite them over, there's certain rules that they have to abide by, which is they have to give you notice in writing who's going to come to the appointment, who's going to come into your home, and list in detail what they're going to discuss with you. And they also know that they have to give you their business card with their license number on it. And that when you ask them to leave, that they need to leave. Simple, right? Unfortunately, not everyone follows the rules. So you need to protect yourself and make sure that you do not feel pressured or intimidated to do business with any insurance agent or financial institution, insurance company that you do not feel comfortable with. Please report it to us through our toll-free number, or you can file a complaint through our website as well. So on our website, we have some great tools. You can check the status of your insurance agent or your insurance company on our website. Also, we have something called a complaint study that's available to check your insurance companies. Those are justifiable complaints that are lodged against insurance companies that's reported. So don't you want to know how your insurance company ranks? You've been with your insurance company for 20 years, never filed a complaint. And of course you're happy because you haven't filed a complaint. You've been paying your premiums annually. But it's important to know how your insurance company ranks, because when you file a claim, that's when you know how good your insurance company is. So know beforehand what your insurance company does, how they react, and how they work with their consumers. You want to make sure if you're buying a new insurance policy or you're shopping for a new policy, you answer all your questions thoroughly and truthfully on your application. Very important, because they can deny payment, especially on a life insurance policy, if they feel you hid something, you did not disclose all the necessary information. And you also want to get everything in writing and compare policies. And that's true, especially in your auto policies. You want to make sure that compare apples to apples when you're shopping for auto insurance. You got to remember, it's a for-profit business. Insurance companies are allowed to make a profit. So it's up to you to shop around and get what you pay for. Ask questions, okay? What does this policy cover? More importantly, what does this policy not cover, okay? And is it too much of a policy? Do you really need this policy? And how does it fit with the rest of your policies and your financial goals? Is it in line with everything you currently have? Again, never feel intimidated or pressured. You need to stop the conversation if you feel that way. Or you should also, if you're making a big purchase, considering a big change in your insurance status, you should have a family member with you. Don't be alone, especially talking to a new agent, potentially. Have a trusted family member, even colleague, a neighbor even, with you. And again, don't sign anything you do not understand, okay? And you definitely do not want to sign anything that's left blank. Make sure that all the forms, everything in the application is filled out completely. Do not let the agent tell you, oh, I'll go ahead and fill that out for you later. Unfortunately, there is that handful of bad apples out there in the insurance industry that can fill in whatever they choose to. And you won't know until you actually get your policy. And unfortunately, in some cases, you never end up with a policy from the insurance company. What does that mean? It means you do not transact business in any insurance business in cash. Make sure you write a check. Make sure you write the check payable to an escrow account or trust account with that insurance agency name. Make sure that check goes in there. And we've seen this happen, unfortunately too many times. It can be people in your community, people from your church even, people that you see on a regular basis. You go and you buy it, and it unfortunately happens in life insurance and workers' comp policies. Okay, you think you know them. You go and you give them, a check, and you think you're all good. Whether it's $3,000, $4,000, whatever policy, you give them a lump sum. And you might even get a policy in the mail. But it's not until you actually file a claim with the insurance company, you realize the insurance company says, oh, we don't have a record of your policy. And you're like, what? What do you mean? I gave Joe Smith such and such amount, and I have the policy in hand. Unfortunately, there is that handful of bad agents out there that have stolen money. And again, it happens in local communities. It happens in the Korean market. Korean agents stealing from the Korean community. So it happens to people within our own communities. So you want to be real careful. And again, if you don't get any mail after you've purchased a policy, that's kind of a red flag. And we always say you need to open up your mail when it comes from an insurance company. You need to make sure that you get what you're supposed to get. And then also, if you get something that you shouldn't have gotten, something that looks incorrect. If you get a policy that says, hey, Sally, we noticed, thank you for purchasing a life insurance policy through XYZ company. That's a red flag, because I know I didn't purchase that. I should be calling XYZ company and ask them, what is this? Is this just an innocent mistake, or is there fraud involved? It's up to me to make sure I look into it instead of throwing that letter away and assuming, oh, they just made a mistake. Okay, so because of COVID, we've seen some COVID scams related to insurance, and these are the top 5. So fake Corona insurance. So there are, unfortunately, every time something happens, there's always people that come up, that get real creative, okay, and come up with, okay, how can we make now the pandemic a way, how can they steal money during the pandemic? So this is when scammers are pitching COVID-19 health coverage. Okay, they promise full coverage and treatment at low prices, but are really scamming to steal your money and your identity. Okay, they say that your current health insurance doesn't cover COVID-19 related treatments, but this health insurance coverage, full insurance coverage will. No, there is no such type of health insurance policy. Make sure you understand that. And there's also your policy got canceled, and it happens with usually family members. So, Tina, you might get a call and say, hey, your sister, Mary, is in the hospital and her health insurance policy got canceled and she needs a ventilator. So can you go ahead and update her policy by making a payment over the phone? And you're like, what? My sister's sick? Oh my God, she needs a bed. Of course I can make the $200, $500, whatever payment it is over the phone. Yes, I want it reinstated. That's all fake. No insurance company is going to call you over the phone to take your payment over the phone. Okay, so that's a scam alert right there. Also, Corona medicines and tests, where they say, hey, we can go ahead and send you the medicines and tests. It's all covered under your insurance company. Let us send it to you free. No, unless you asked for a solicitor to call you, unless you asked for a certain health insurance company or a medical testing company to call you, if they're calling you as without any permission, you got to know, okay? This is part of a scam. Some senior scams related to Medicare it has to do with durable medical equipment and also overbilling. So durable medical equipment, companies, and you'll see some ads on TV, okay, but it has to do with a lot of robocalls that'll say, hey, we can get you a wheelchair. Okay, all for free. Just go ahead and give us your Medicare number. You don't have to pay anything out of pocket. Wouldn't it be nice if you had a wheelchair that you could use? And you know, we know you don't really need it, but you can have it now, all free of charge. And you say, okay, well, scam. First part, they want your Medicare number. Second is you may never get that wheelchair, but even if you do, now you have it and they've billed Medicare for it. So let's say a year, 2 years from down the line, you've lost your wheelchair because you didn't need it, whatever, it's broken, and you really do need one. Medicare will not approve it now because you already got one 2 years ago. So you want to make sure you don't fall for durable medical equipment sales pitches where they're trying to say, oh, you can have this for free. You actually need a doctor's prescription to get the things that you need. And then overbilling on Medicare. There's also, you want to open your statements. You want to make sure you want to open your statement and say, okay, yes, I did see Dr. Smith and it was a half hour and that's what you got billed. That's what you want to be. You don't want it to say you saw Dr. Jones for a 2-hour visit and you had all these tests done. That's overbilling. And it can happen not just from your doctor's office, but usually the medical processing entity. There could be fraud there. And then also bogus travel insurance. Okay, you want to be on the lookout for that. Most travel insurance policies do not cover pandemic or virus-related cancellations. So you want to make sure you're on the alert. And because everyone's going back to traveling, you want to be real careful. You want to know what it is you get and what it is you don't get. So here's how you can protect yourself. I think I'm running low on time. Is that correct, Mitch? I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here in a few minutes, but I want to tell you about what do you do to protect yourself? You got to remember this statement. I do not disclose any information to unsolicited callers. Unfortunately, a lot of our seniors have a hard time hanging up that phone call because, again, they're just too nice. They do not know how to hang up that phone from an unsolicited caller. So I tell people, hey, remember this sentence. You can take a picture of this slide if you need help. If you think you need this information, take a picture of it. Huh? Don't engage. Do not let that unsolicited caller have the opportunity to keep talking to you, to keep getting information from you, where you're going to disclose personal information. Don't be polite. It's okay. You can say no and hang up. If you want to be polite and say no, thank you, then you hang up after no, thank you. You want to be stingy with your personal information. You got to change your passwords on a regular basis. And again, it's okay to hang up the phone. If you did not ask for that call, hang up the phone. It's a robocall. It's a scam. They're trying to sell you something and get your personal information. And it is up to you to report fraud to the Department of Insurance and to other agencies out there. And here are some contacts and resource information right here. Insurance-related information, reporting fraud or questions. Here's our toll-free number. Here's our website. Senior Medicare Patrol. If you notice fraud, call them. AARP also has a Fraud Watch Network hotline. And then you can go to the Coalition Against Insurance Fraud. It's a national website where you can see up-to-date insurance-related frauds. But it is up to you to help protect yourself and to report cases of fraud so that we can manage it and we can keep it under control. Mitch, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. And I think we're going to go ahead and take questions at the end.
We can do questions now if anybody's got them.
Okay.
Anyone? Questions? Got some interesting comments here. Scroll up the chat. John Castro's got some comments on robocalls from Medicare. More Medicare fraud here. Yeah, be stingy with your personal information. Unfortunately, many people are still on Facebook. Yeah, don't take those quizzes on Facebook, by the way. That's a bad idea. Anyway, do we have any questions? Put them in the chat for Fran. Well, Fran, Fran was the last comment. Sally, you're gonna be here for a couple of minutes more, right?
Yes, I will be here till the end to answer any questions. And then in the meantime, I can go through and look through the chat and see if there's anything I can answer. Does that work?
Please do. All right, Kevin, that's fine. Kevin, you're up.
Thank you. Let's try this again. Hopefully I can.
You actually
close-
had PowerPoint up. You just weren't in presentation.
I had
mode.
PowerPoint up.
So
I'm just not.
yeah, there's
I'm just not
PowerPoint
seeing
right there.
for-
I see it.
I'm not. I wasn't seeing it for some reason. Okay, now are you seeing it?
I
can see the reflection in my
PowerPoint. Yeah.
glasses. Okay. Thank you for being patient with me, guys. Yeah. So
Thank
I'm
you for
Kevin
joining
Duro with
us.
Contractor State License Board. Contractor State License Board, we protect California consumers by licensing and regulating the state's construction industry. We license more than 290,000 contractors in 44 different classifications. Different classifications include, plumbing, fencing, concrete work, general B for building big things like houses. So unfortunately, unlicensed contractors do target seniors. Part of the reason why, and Sally mentioned this, is seniors are trusting, which makes seniors as a group more vulnerable. Unlicensed contractors will try to manipulate seniors, and they'll do that by trying to establish a connection with you to take advantage of you. They might say, hey, your grandson goes to, Laguna High School, and my neighbor's kid goes to Laguna High School. It's a great school. They're doing great this year in football. So they'll try to establish a connection with you and then before taking advantage of you. So that's something to be aware of. Some of the biggest scams we see involving unlicensed contractors at Contractor State License Board is unlicensed contractors will ask for a large down payment. By California law, the down payment cannot be more than 10% or $1,000, whatever's less. That's really important to remember. Other common scams we see at Contractors Board are door-to-door sales and pressure tactics. This involves, someone knocking on the door, a contractor, and they say, "Hey, we're doing a job for your neighbor down the street. We're doing their lawn, and we have some leftover sod. We can redo your front grass for you for a couple $100. Just give us the cash right now, and we'll do your front yard for you." So it sounds like a really good deal, but in fact, they're going to do a shoddy job, or they're going to take your money and not do the work at all. You don't know if they're licensed. You don't even know what the material is they're going to put on your lawn. So all in all, it's a bad idea. Usually what I encourage people to do is don't even open your door all the way. Maybe just, open your main door and leave your screen door closed and locked. And just ask the person at your door to just leave their contact information on your doorstep, and you can check it later. You can check their ads and see if they have a license number. Another common scam we see at the Contractors Board is our scare tactics. This could be someone knocking on their door offering a free inspection of your home. They start walking around your home and they find all kinds of problems. Suddenly there's a crack in the wall. They see some water spottage on the ceiling, and they say you have a leaky roof. And all of a sudden you're on the hook for all these repairs that need to be made by someone you're not even sure if they're licensed or not. You're not even sure if you really have problems. They could just be trying to scam you. Other common scams we see involve verbal agreements. They'll promise you new fence work for $2,000, but then when the bill comes, it's $4,000. Because there's nothing there in writing, you're stuck with your word against theirs, which doesn't often hold up, whether it's in mediation or in small claims court, whatever it comes to get your money back. Another reason why you want to avoid verbal agreements, the prices of materials start changing during the job. That's why you want to get everything in writing. This pandemic, we've seen the prices of materials change. We've seen the price of lumber and concrete change. That can happen, but that needs to be put in writing. If there's a change in the price, it needs to be noted on your contract and initialed by you and your contractor. That's called a change order. And also, Sally touched on this as well during her presentation, but you never want to pay in cash. At Contractors Board, we encourage you to pay a licensed contractor with a check and save a copy of that check and keep it in a project file, which can be just a plain manila folder where you'll keep a copy of your contract, any photos of the work, the contact information of the contractor, and any subcontractors, if they're going to hire subcontractors, and their license information. So what can you do if you've been scammed? please call us 1-800-321-CSLB or 2752 to obtain a complaint form. You can also go to our website and click this icon on the homepage, file a complaint. Seniors have 4 years from the date of your construction to file a complaint. So if there's one of those things that is still bugging you that you got taken care of 2 years ago, you can still file a complaint with us. We'd still like to hear from you. And another thing you should be aware of, and this is new protection for 2021, is that seniors, we're talking age 65 and up, now have a 5-day right to cancel a contract. That really protects you from smooth talking solicitors, unlicensed contractors who talk to you into signing something that you regret signing later on down the line. And here's a look at what it looks like on our website. Like I mentioned, you click that file complaint button on our homepage. So why should you use a licensed contractor? Well, all licensed contractors, they've passed trade and law exams with CSLB, and they've undergone background checks. CSLB licensed contractors also have to hold a $15,000 contractor bond, and they have to have workers' compensation insurance for all their employees. This is really important because workers' compensation insurance, it covers workers' injuries while on the job, which protects you as a homeowner. If they don't have workers' comp and one of their workers gets hurt on the job, you may be held liable for that worker's injuries. You get greater consumer protection whenever you use a licensed contractor. You have more options with us. We can step in and help you with any kind of negotiation, mediation, and arbitration. Those are free services for consumers. Another thing you should be aware of is that California law requires the use of licensed contractors for any home improvement job that costs $500 or more. So how do you find a licensed contractor? Well, ask your friends and family if they have any recommendations, and you can simply check the license on our website. If you're not getting any good recommendations, you can find contractors in your area, and this is something that I did myself. You just go to Find My Licensed Contractor tool on our website, and you just simply put in your zip code and choose what type of contractor you're looking for, and you'll get a nice list of all the contractors in your area who are willing to help you. You can either download that list or print it out. You can also get this contractor information by calling our call center at 1-800-321-2752. There's an example of how to find My Licensed Contractor information. You click on that button, and a pop-up window like this will come up. You can put in your city or your zip code, and you can choose from this drop-down menu what type of contractor you're looking for, and it will perform a search for you. You'll get the names in random order. It's really easy to print out, and you can just go down one by one, check them off, and try to make some appointments and get yourself some bids. You want to get at least 3 bids. If you want to get at least 3 bids and you want to get them in writing, that gives you a good idea of what the marketplace is for your job. Your bids can be all over the place. You might get one bid for $2,000 for your new fence. You might get another bid, second bid for $4,000. You might get a third bid for $6,000. It's good to know your options. They might be offering you different materials. It might be a redwood fence with an extra, support on the bottom, or steel posts versus wood posts. You want to know all your options. You want to get at least 3 bids. Also, it's always a great idea to ask for references and check out the references. Get some names of some past clients some past neighbors that the contractors worked for, and call up these neighbors and ask if you can even see the work with your own eyes, or if they can text you a photo of their concrete. Hey, did they just do your patio? Can you text me a photo really quick? See how the job is, see if they're happy with it. The reason we ask you to do that is nowadays you can't really rely on pictures on Facebook. You can easily just go on any kind of search engine and type in beautiful concrete work, download all the pictures and put them on a nice website, put them on a Facebook ad, and it makes it look like they're a pro, and it might not even be their work. So see their past work in person if you can, and from your neighbors. When you meet these contractors and you get your 3 bids, ask to see their pocket license. It should be a laminated credit card sized card like this one. You want to compare the name on this card with the name on a picture ID like a driver's license. That's so you can confirm the contractor's identity and that they are in fact licensed and not stealing another contractor's license number. We ask contractors to put their license number on vehicles, shirts, business cards, bills. We ask them to put it everywhere. So unfortunately, we get unlicensed contractors who like to steal other contractors' license numbers to make it look like they're licensed when in fact they're not. So another way to triple check the pocket license. I want to quickly talk about solar problems, problems involving solar. It's a growing problem that CSLB is looking into. We now have a solar task force, and we also have a solar smart page on our website, which you should definitely check out before you consider solar. We also recently launched a new solar complaint form to improve our response time to solar complaints. Some questions you want to ask yourself before you even consider solar for your home. Is solar right for you? How much longer are you going to spend living in your home? You probably want to be in your home at least another 5 years if you're going to consider solar. You also probably need to consider the direction your roof is pointing and whether it's going to get full sun and really get the full benefits of solar. And if any kind of trees cover part of your roof where you're going to put the panels, that'll impact how much power you're taking in. You also want to do the math with solar. You want to find out how much this solar power system on your roof is going to cost. And you want to confirm, oh, excuse me, I hit the wrong button. You want to confirm when your break-even point will be, as far as compare your monthly utility bills and see how much money you're going to save every month. Find out when that solar system is finally going to get paid off. When are you going to finally actually start saving money? So you're going to have to look at your monthly statements to do that. I want you to remember that solar is not free. If a salesperson is trying to convince you of that, use caution. Also, beware of financing programs involving PACE loans, Hero, Chief, or Real loans. Oftentimes, they're tied to high interest rates, or they can even be tied to your property taxes. We had a homeowner in Los Angeles County that did a big story in the paper on her. She got one of these solar deals with one of these loans, and it was tied to her property taxes, and she didn't understand. 2 years later, her property taxes tripled. She could no longer afford to pay them, and she ended up losing her home. So you have to be really careful when you're dealing with any kind of solar contractor. Make sure you always have control over your payments. You never want to sign over any kind of payments to a contractor. You want to get everything in writing, like we talked about earlier, in a contract. In California, most solar projects also require a financing estimate or a disclosure document that should clearly write out for you right on the front. It should be something you need to initial or sign that talks about how much this solar system is going to cost you. You also want to read the contract carefully. This is another thing that Sally mentioned earlier. Read the contract carefully. If you have a loved one who can read it with you, a neighbor or a friend who could be there with you, read it carefully before you sign anything. Make sure you understand everything before you sign it. Remember, protect yourself, hire licensed contractors, use the Find My Licensed Contractor tool on our website. You can always check the license of anyone you're thinking about working with by performing an instant license check. By going to our website, you can simply just type in the person's license number. You can also call and get this information, 1-800-321-CSLB. Remember, the down payment should be no more than 10% or $1,000, whatever's less. Never let the payments get ahead of the work. That means you never want to pay a contractor more than half of the money until half of the job is done. And never pay the contractor the full amount of the project until you're completely satisfied with the job and you're okay with them walking away, because money is your leverage in a lot of these situations. And once they have their money, they have no reason to come back to help you, okay? And you can always contact us, CSLB 1-800-321-CSLB-2752. You can also email us, info@cslb.ca.gov. Thank you so much for your time today. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kevin. So do we have any questions? Leave them in the chat if you would, please. No, I guess not at the moment. Kevin and Sally will be around for a few more minutes, I think. If you have any questions, you want to just jump in there in the chat, we can pull them back on and hopefully get your questions answered. We do have a question here. Please show the license check numbers again.
And Mitch,
Absolutely. Hold on
earlier I saw, oh, sorry, Kevin, did you want to answer that or are you going to
No,
answer?
go ahead.
Okay, so earlier I
The
saw
license check
some
numbers.
comments about Medicare fraud. So I'll go ahead and put the number in there, but full disclosure, The Department of Insurance does not regulate Medicare. Why? Because Medicare is a federal program. It is not an insurance company or policy. What we do regulate is the underlying insurance policy. If it is a PPO plan, is regulated by us. If you have an HMO Medicare plan, that is regulated by a totally different state agency called Department of Managed Healthcare. I'm sure most of you know that. And then, but if you're not sure who regulates it, and it's an insurance-related question, please call us, the Department of Insurance. We will be able to help you with that. We'll get you the right number and to the right regulator. And just know that Medicare also does not call you over the phone to ask you to verify your Medicare number and tell you that there's an issue. Medicare, I've been told, does not call you. So if you do get that call, no, it's a scam. Hang up and you can call Medicare back if you think it's legit. Offer to call Medicare back from a published phone number, from a phone number that's on the back of your card. Call them, get that taken care of, but never through a robocall generated unsolicited call.
Thank you, Sally. Do you know the name of the article of the lady that lost her house? That's a good question. Do you happen to know?
No, I believe it was in the Los Angeles Times, and it might have been a year and a half ago. I'm trying to remember if it was pre or post pre-pandemic or not.
What did she pay for or think she? What did she pay for or think she was paying for?
She was paying for a solar system for her roof of her home. Let me look for that, and if I can find the article, I'll send it to Mitch.
Okay, great. See, I have, when a solar customer died, Sunrun wouldn't end her contract. That doesn't sound like it. No, all right. So I'll wait till you get that back from you, Kevin. All right, any other questions for either one of our speakers? Going once, going twice. I guess there's no more questions. Thank you very much again. Next up, we're going to hear from Ryan Hurd, Executive Director of the San Diego Democratic Party, and he's going to talk to us about the recall election and what we can do to stop it. Ryan, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mitch. It is good to see so many friendly faces and names tonight. I learned quite a few things tonight, so that was really interesting. Before I jump in, I just want to take a second to thank Tina for the invitation, and also to thank Linda, hi, for the long-standing invitation. It's fair to say. I'm not sure this even really counts at this point on Zoom, but it's a good step closer, and I look forward to seeing more of you all in person whenever we can. One last thing before I jump in on the recall stuff. I know that's the topic on top of mind for most of us these days. For those of you who did participate in any of the possible ways in the Roosevelt dinner on Saturday, we really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it. If you were able to join us, our goals were met in terms of staying on track for what we need to do this year. And I think just as importantly, we all just needed to connect in some way and get a little bit closer to being together. And I hope we capture that on Saturday. So moving on, I do have some slides to entertain you as I go. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as well. All right, hoping y'all can see that. So some of you may have seen different versions of this that our county party team has presented over the last month or 6 weeks. Things have been changing pretty rapidly, really week to week with a campaign with such a short timeline. But we do have some new things in here as well. Just wanted to give you an update on where we are, the sense of things statewide, what is happening at the local level, probably most importantly, what people can do to make an impact and make sure Democrats get out to vote. And then a couple other details that we're looking at around the corner. So first and foremost, you probably have been seeing some of the recent polling that's come out that's shown that this race is tightening, and we're just about at the point where seemingly even numbers of likely voters support the recall and not. So that obviously tells us that a lot of our activists who have been really worried about this for some time were exactly right. And we should be taking this seriously. And we have a long way to go to make sure that we all reach out and connect and turn out our fellow Democrats. So more on that soon, but just a couple contextual things in terms of where we are right now. Just today, a judge ruled that the governor can call the recall proponents what they really are in the official information guide that goes out to all the voters in the state, calling them out as Republicans and Trump supporters. That is incredibly important. You've seen the branding of the campaign already, which really targeting Democrats attaches the name Republican to this all the way to make sure for people who don't know the backstory and who's behind it, that this is absolutely a gimmick to try to take advantage of a crisis, to try to get a small number of people to determine who the governor will be and elect a Trump supporter in this very Democratic state. So we really are possibly on the verge of that happening if we don't pull out all the stops to make sure that this thing fails. On the other side of the equation, there are some challenges. We know that due to another court ruling last month, the governor cannot call himself a Democrat on the actual ballot for that ballot item at the very top for kind of obscure administrative reasons. But that hurts somewhat because there are plenty of voters out there who still aren't really sure. You know, they may have an opinion of him, but they may not be sure where he aligns on the from the party's point of view. So all the more reason for them to hear from us, especially from our volunteer corps, who are really trusted messengers, to make sure that people know that we've got to keep them in office. We know in general from polling, this isn't a big surprise, that Republicans are just more informed about this election. They're paying attention. They're more excited to vote. For Democrats, there's certainly a group of people who that describes, but more Dems who are really indifferent. They're not as sure what's really going on. And we have a lot of work to do to make sure that not only do they have the information, but they have the motivation. They're determined enough, they're enthusiastic enough or angry enough, whatever it takes to get them whipped up and not only voting, but getting other people in their household, in their network, to make sure that they take a couple of minutes to get their ballots in as well. And you might have seen some polls even out this week, really showing that this is a statistical tie. Some of these, I believe, more than others. There's a Survey USA one that was in the UT just today that I'm not sure I am on board with the methodology that actually shows the recall passing statewide by a point or two. But I think most of these polls are showing it really in the confidence margin, and we're looking at a real race. There is one poll that I'll highlight here that just come out based on the actual poll was conducted, I think, Friday through Sunday, showing, if you look at the purple column in all of these, that is the most recent time that the same question was asked over 3 different periods that this poll has been run, showing that the opposition is up by a couple points. But again, within that margin of 3 points, I think, in this particular poll, so it really is statistically a tie. And it kind of looks like the undecideds, which started at 15%, as you can see on the right, down to 6%, if anything, are breaking a little more to the yes side. So that is very much a concern as we go into the final weeks here. For what it's worth, you know, when our conversations with voters are happening, we're not really at all talking about the replacement candidates. We're trying to stay really focused on just saying, you've got to vote no, and you've got to vote. And you kind of go down a rabbit hole sometimes talking about the replacement candidates. There's really not a scenario where it matters when you look at it practically, but it is worth a reminder, especially when it comes to motivating all of us and the folks that we know who are involved in the party to do a little bit more, that it looks like the candidate who is leading so far on the replacement list is Larry Elder, who is pretty much your textbook extremist conservative talk radio host. The last thing we need, obviously. And this is more than a remote possibility at this point. So if anyone needs a reminder, I don't think anyone in this group does, this does need to be taken really, really seriously. This is just a snapshot at what the ballot will look like, more or less. This is from the last recall in 2003, but the formatting should be about the same. with 2 items only there for people to vote on. The first one, a simple yes or no question, should the governor be recalled? And then a list of replacement candidates following that. Just those 2 questions. Again, in our conversations with voters, we're not going to be even talking about the replacement candidate options. But one question that will come up that we've actually had a couple calls just today at the party office is that you don't have to vote for both. It's perfectly fine. And we're actually encouraging people, just vote no, don't waste any more time and get your ballot in right away. That's the thing to do. Your ballot will not be invalidated if you only vote on that and skip the other question. That's always the case, but we actually allegedly had someone at the registrar's office giving out bad information on that point today. And we want to make sure that we're giving people solid information so they can vote confidently and vote early to make sure those ballots get in. These are the key dates, and we're really getting to be in the middle of this timeline right now. So early voting starts a little less than 2 weeks from now. In 2 weeks, very many voters throughout the state will already have their ballots since those are being sent out to all voters on the active registration file. For those who do need to register or re-register, the deadline is just a couple weeks after that on August 30th. And then of course, election day is coming up on September 14th. The details of how to vote in San Diego County will be just about identical to what we all experienced in the general election last time. In this case, we won't have a slate. There's not a ton of information that voters need, but for those who are, especially those who are less experienced at voting, we just want to make sure they vote no, get that into the return envelope, fill out all the information that's needed, including their signature and the date, and turn that back in one of numerous ways. It does need to be received or postmarked by election day, the 14th. And once again, no stamp is needed if people do want to mail it. Options, we know that at least last year, a lot of people did not want to use the mail for one reason or another to return their ballots, which is perfectly fine because there are plenty of other options. The Register of Voters office, which is open every weekday already, will be open for early voting on the 16th, and that will include registration and voting and any other kind of voter related service that people might need at that point. There will be about 120 130 maybe ballot drop-off locations around the county, as we've had now for a couple of cycles. A lot of them post offices, but a lot of other kinds of buildings. So that will be open pretty much the entire early voting period during the business hours for those locations. But for people who would prefer to drop off their ballot in an official Register of Voters drop-off location, there will be those options in a lot of communities around the county. And then finally, as we experienced last November, there will be super poll locations, not the large number of polling places that we have been used to for many years, but a smaller number of sites throughout the county. I think there'll be about 230 of those that will be open for full service support for voters. Again, registration, including registration after the deadline, all the way through election day for people who need that. People need replacement ballots, or they lost their ones that they got in the mail. Or anything else they need that can still be done if they're eligible to vote. That can happen at those locations for the 4 days leading up to and including election day. So starting Saturday, September 11th, all the way through September 14th, that Tuesday. So a bit about what the campaign on the volunteer side is going to look like. There is the No on the Recall campaign itself. That is run by the governor's campaign team. They're working closely with the California Democratic Party. So the campaign itself is more or less handling the broadcast media, the ads, the earned media stuff, and generally the targeting and strategy. The California Democratic Party is helping to mobilize the volunteer corps all over the state, including working with county parties and other organizations, organized labor, and other allies to get out the messaging we need, and especially to get out the vote. So for our part, we're trying to organize as many anti-recall activities as possible in the county. Not too long ago, we were talking about visibility stuff, just getting the word out. And at this point, we have to scramble pretty quickly to make sure that we're ready to get out the vote. all the logistics that we know come from that, from the campaigns that we normally conduct. So our role, in short, is to communicate, especially with those occasional voting Democrats, to turn them out to vote. We do know that most Democrats do strongly support the recall, or at least, or rather strongly oppose the recall, or at least oppose it somewhere in that continuum. By and large, getting Democrats out is what we need to do. So there's a little bit of messaging that goes along with that to people who may be hesitant or need more information. But this really, more than almost any election we've seen for a long time, is a turnout game. We hear that a lot, but this is very, very much the case now, where it's just a matter of getting people to be motivated, getting them to remember the logistics of getting out to vote, very simply. We have a ton of newly registered voters who voted for the first time last year without the traditions and the support networks and the media and all the other stuff that motivates and excites people in a presidential election. It's going to take a lot of extra lifting to make sure that we get people to be aware of what's going on and to be motivated, to care, to take the couple of minutes it takes to fill that ballot out and get it back in. So that really is our core job in these remaining days. For a little more background as to how we are focusing our time and our resources as we go, we are really here to maximize the votes against the recall by focusing on those voters who we know are going to be most responsive to 101 get out the vote contacts. So we want to spend as much of our volunteers' precious time as possible on talking to individual people, overwhelmingly Democrats, having two-way conversations where they can ask us questions, they can affirmatively say, yes, I plan to vote against the recall, and we can actually follow up with them later on if we see that they haven't voted yet. That is much more valuable than almost anything you can spend your time on. And so the activities that we'll be talking about and promoting from here on out fit that bill. Most of the party's volunteers know well what those involve. And that's going to be our best bet in terms of maximizing our success. That also means that our target for these voters is a little narrower than it normally is. Typically, when we have any other kind of election, even our perfect voting Democrats who are always there, who never miss an election, still need a little bit of information to know, well, how about for school board or water board? And they even know that they need that, so they go out of the way to ask us if we don't make it to them first. In this case, of course, it's not about having that kind of information that we need. By and large, the folks in this meeting are not going to need to be contacted for any campaign. And so that will be true also when it comes to the folks that we're contacting. It's more narrowly focused on people who are occasional but not regular voters. And so you'll see that reflected in the targets geographically and otherwise when you start to do these voter contacts. We also, understanding that we have very limited time and that this is a statewide campaign, want to minimize duplication of effort as much as possible by not just doing this all on our own, but instead working with that coordinated campaign, using their targeting data, using their messaging when it makes sense for us here in the county, and then adding our own twist when that makes sense as well. And so we're in touch with folks at the statewide level to make sure that we're doing that as much as we can. And then finally, as always, just with a broader view to this election that none of us wanted to have to deal with, we do want to find some opportunities within that to organize, to build on our long-term engagement with voters, to recruit and train more volunteers, since we haven't had a chance to do that since the last election, and then certainly since in some areas there's some lifting and relief around the pandemic. And then finally, building up our democratic organizations and alliances. When we do this right, it's always an opportunity to recruit for a Democratic club or to get people engaged in some other way in our system. And I'll note for this audience, of course, what you already know, that we have another election right around the corner from here. I think early voting in the special election for city council in La Mesa starts 3 weeks after election day and the recall. So at some point really soon, if not, well, really already, we have a couple simultaneous campaigns with different election dates going on. And to some extent, I'm sure that we'll be focusing some of our energy in La Mesa, not just for the turnout around the recall, but also to kind of cultivate the contact with voters in ways that are going to be useful to make sure that folks turn out in the November election as well. So, unpopular, for those of you who don't have this info, we want to point people with a laser toward the ways to help out right now. And there are a few good ones. We started phone banking a couple weeks ago. We have a couple that are going on every week, Thursdays at 6, and we just added Saturdays at 1 p.m. So hopefully those work for folks who are able to make it to help out for at least a couple hours. We will probably add more options as we go, as those fill up, and we hope they will. We're going to keep expanding our phone bank operations. Right now, those are all online. So you sign up, you get a link for a Zoom meeting, hop in, get a little training, and off you go. We hope that people will stay on the call just to kind of interact with each other. And then for those who need more training and support, we're always ready to provide that. Very similar to a lot of the phone bank experiences that some of you may have had last year. We could envision in-person phone banking, but at this point, the way things are going, that doesn't seem like a smart idea. So we're really focused on making sure that people find one of these other activities that will work for them. And we've had a pretty good contact rate actually on the phone so far. I will add that because this is the statewide pool of voters that need to be contacted, so far we've had a lot of San Diego voters there. But in the future, that may shift over. You may find if you join one of these phone banks that you will be calling voters in different parts of the state. And that makes sense, right? Because it's wherever those voters happen to be who need to be contacted. And I think and hope that the folks who are showing up understand that. And we may not be neighbors, but we're all Californians and have this shared future in common that we need to protect. So that's really the perspective from the campaign's angle. Canvassing, which I know a lot of people are excited to do in whatever form that can take, will be starting in mid-August, either right before or right after ballots hit. So we're doing a lot of work over the next week to get ready for that. We are going to have door hangers and lists, both paper and lists on the app that a lot of people increasingly have been using that we'll provide. Unlike the Go Team experience that a lot of people are used to who have volunteered in that way before, this is not going to be a thing where you get a really personalized list of your neighbors necessarily that you hold on to for weeks at a time before getting the data in. These will be more targeted areas. They may not be exactly in your neighborhood, but there will be options around the county that we'll be putting together. And these will be relatively shorter lists of voters. The density will just be a little lower than what we're used to in terms of the number of doors on a given block that we'll be knocking on. But that will be a critical aspect to this whole thing to get people's attention who maybe haven't been reached in any other way. We are expecting that if people just want to drop lit, that's fine. We'll have the door hangers with all the election info on there, and that'll just be one more form of contact for people when they open the door and get that. For those who are willing and interested in actually knocking on doors, we will require that people will be vaccinated, wear a mask, and keep a respectful distance, just so those voters feel safe if they choose to answer the door at that point. So we'll get into that kind of detail when we do trainings for those events, but just wanted to anticipate that question if people may have it. So that's the canvassing. We are looking for people to host these. So we're starting with our Go Team coordinators around the county who kind of know the drill, but really anyone else who's done this with the campaign or who's just interested in helping out. We're looking for individuals who are willing to show up, do a little training that we'll provide, hand out the materials that we provide, and really just kick people off and welcome anyone back who comes back to that location to drop off their stuff after canvassing. So I'll include my info here after this if anyone wants to reach out and volunteer to do that. I know we have a number of events already taking shape around the county. We want to have those going pretty much in those weekends, mid-August, all the way through election day. And so people who are comfortable going out into the neighborhoods and hitting the streets again, especially as we weren't really able to do last year, there'll be a lot of that coming up. And finally, texting is an option. Some people love to do that. I will say for this particular universe of voters that we're contacting, it's relatively on the younger side, and people have been pretty responsive to texting. That's really how a lot of the volunteerism in the campaign started, and that's how they've made a big chunk of their initial contacts. So you see the link on there, EIT/LY/recall texting. What happens there is you sign up, you get a confirmation email, and you'll be invited into a Slack workspace where you're kind of guided through some documents to read about how it works, do a little self-training, confirm that you had some training, and then You can talk to other people, including the campaign staff within Slack, but that's kind of how that works. So it's very self-directed, but there's a lot of chat in Slack in the background, and I know a lot of people have been having fun with that. So I'll just emphasize for one more time for the phone banks, the link to sign up for that is sddems.link/no-recall, and that will include all of those upcoming phone bank events. They are capped at, I think, 30 or so people. And so if you see one that says it's full, there'll be a lot of other options for you to sign up for. Finally, just wanted to highlight a couple other things that we're expecting that we'll be doing here in our county, just to reinforce everything that's going on statewide. As always, we've had a lot of requests for yard signs and other stuff. So we are planning to go ahead and print up some of those signs just so we have them. That's normally not a big focus for us, but I think especially given that there's not a whole lot of visibility for no on the recall, getting those out there in neighborhoods, especially where we have messaging on the other side, is really useful. I know a lot of our people want to do that. So look for more info from us around that. We are also being the second biggest and I would say best organized county party in the state. I think that's pretty fair at this point to say. Even our colleagues would agree in our conversations with them. We've got a pretty high standard, and we know that we're a battleground county, and we have a lot to do here to get our Democrats out and to break through the noise that we're hearing from the other side here in the county of DeMaio and Faulkner. So we are raising funds to run our own campaign program on top of what the state party and the campaign itself are doing. At this point, it's just a matter of scale, but we would like to do direct mail, digital ads targeting Democrats who need to hear from us, hiring one or more organizers to help boost our volunteer force in the time remaining, and more stuff. So that, again, is a matter of what we can bring in, but that's kind of the overview of what we're looking at in the very limited time remaining. So I really appreciate everyone's attention, and I haven't been able to keep an eye on the chat box, but if there are any questions, Mitch, if we have time for that, I'd be thrilled to take them.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Don't think you're going to escape early, though. We're gonna get through all the questions and not let you go.
I'm not going anywhere.
All right, start with a really good question from Linda Johnson. So you mentioned the ballot will likely be in two-part. You'll have yes or no on the recall, and you'll have a whole bunch of names in part two. So what's the reasoning for not answering question two? Doesn't it make sense to vote for another Democrat just in case the recall is approved?
That is a valid perspective. And the main thing is that we really don't want to spend time with voters having that conversation. There's not an official line on that other than the party's not taking an endorsement. That's a personal decision. If people want to vote for someone, it doesn't hurt. If they don't want to vote for anyone, it doesn't hurt. That's not, we're there to talk to them about. So there's not an official recommendation.
Don't they have to vote yes on the recall to vote for someone else, though?
I don't think so. I mean, I think they can vote on either point of it. So in a scenario where they vote no and then pick someone, I think that vote would still count because they tally all the votes on the first item first. If that gets a majority, they tally all the votes on the second item are then counted and have the effect of electing someone. So you can vote on either of those questions or neither of those questions and still turn in your ballot.
Okay, good point. I didn't know that myself. I'm hearing some well-meaning friends telling people to vote for Governor Newsom. That's not what we want to tell people to do. We want people to vote no, right?
Right, absolutely.
That's it. You know, I don't know about you, but every year I go into the ballot booth with, a little note on here is all the way down, hundreds of people I have to vote for. And this time it's just, no, I'm leaving, I'm done.
Yeah, and it's tricky, these things, because we're always looking for a yes vote when we go out and talk to people normally, right? Yeah. So we don't want someone to kind of go in there thinking yes on Newsom, vote yes, and then write in Newsom's name or something like that. And I could see people doing that. So yeah. even in our lists and other materials, we want to make sure that a positive result is a no very clearly to all the volunteers who are out there talking to people.
Yeah, I still get grief from a gay friend because years ago I tweeted out, vote yes on Proposition 8. They're like,
Prop 8, yeah.
No, wait, vote yes on gay marriage. Ooh, sorry. So yeah, this all gets very confusing. So let's go to the dark place for a minute here. If the recall is approved, when would the new governor take office?
That's a great question. I don't happen to know the answer to. I think it could be pretty close to immediately. I think it may even be within days, if not right after that. And then they would serve all the way through next year until next November's election, and then take office the following December.
So it could be September 15th or whenever it's approved.
Earlier than we would ever want. Yeah.
Yeah. So does the party have any polling to understand why there is this opposition to Governor Newsom?
I haven't seen a lot of those details. There's polling out there just on kind of like, what do you think? And I'm sure there's cross tabs on how people feel about the economy and all that. But I guess the obvious thing for me is we're just living in such a strange, stressful time. And people are still a little confused and uncertain about what's going on out there and exactly who to blame. So even though the governor's actual track record has been pretty darn stellar compared with anyone else out there who's been trying to do this and run a state through these uncertain times against the current of the Trump administration for the worst of it, people still don't know that. They don't see it. And he's just an easy target for Republicans, and they see an opportunity now to beat him up, knowing that not everyone has that information. And so that makes our job challenging, but I think it's really less about him and more about the circumstances and taking advantage of this crisis. So that's all the more reason for us to really stay focused on what this is about.
Okay, just a couple of points in the comments here. Getting an echo from someone, I don't know where. Oh, it's gone away. Good. Doug K says Gavin Newsom is not listed in question 2, so I guess we can't vote for him. I don't know. Let's see. Several callers have told Leslie Fadum that they are Democrats, but they think Gavin Newsom have done a terrible job. I asked them to tell me one thing they think he could have done different, and they are unable to tell her. So that's not actually that good news, because if your people don't come to you with assertions, there's nothing to refute. Right. Doug Case also says the new governor would take office 30 days after the election when it is certified.
I thought Doug might know. Thank you.
Yeah. Doug would know. And Suzanne Till says, will there be a negative media campaign on Larry Elder? What he's saying about schools is really disturbing.
As tempting as that might be, we don't have the time or money, and more importantly, we don't want to give this guy any oxygen. We have a lot of positive and important information to communicate in a short period of time. So it's all about no, vote. That's what we're saying from here on out.
Yeah. One point I'd like to raise to make people take it even more seriously than I hope they already are. And you can check me on this, Ryan, if I'm being crazy, but I have seen an analysis that talks about kind of the math of this election, that mostly if you have multiple people running from the same party, they cancel each other out. But in this case, every Larry Elder supporter is a no, every supporter for our former mayor is a no, every supporter for Caitlyn Jenner is a no. So they add up. They don't cancel each other out. Is that correct?
I think that's about right. I mean, in other words, it just gets really complicated, and you can't just look at the D or the R next to the name and try to extrapolate like what's going to happen there. And I do see that question from Miriam as to how many people. Gosh, I'm not sure. I think it's dozens. It's nowhere near what it was in the Davis recall, but it's a lot. There's only a handful that are getting above even major single digits, but it's still enough to sort of look like a lot to deal with for someone who doesn't know what to expect. And I could imagine somebody saying, oh, geez, I'm not ready for this. I'm going to put this ballot down and get back to it later. And then we know what happens when people do that. So in addition to making sure we're there at the very end for them to get their ballots in, there's all the more reason to contact people early on when the ballots are still kind of fresh on the top of the pile and say, hey, look, take a minute. It's really easy. Just vote no. You don't need a stamp. Turn it back in, and you've done a good thing for your party and your state.
Okay, so we have a question from Marie Mesa. She wants to know if there are any top Democrats endorsing our governor at all that would help.
I don't know any who are not. The campaign website, which is, I think, stoptherepublicanrecall.com, lists just about all of the Democratic endorsements you could think of. So I don't think that's too much the problem. although, more certainly welcome. I know a lot of our local electeds and other party leaders are certainly around the state doing what they can using their relationships and their name ID to help get the word out. And so it is going to take a team for that to happen.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of national leadership Democrats endorsing Governor Newsom and working for him. And Tina just messaged me that Elizabeth Warren is one of them. Doug had a great suggestion here. I don't know if you can see it in the chat, but will the state campaign have ads on Newsom's accomplishments rather than just focusing on how the recall is a Trump-like takeover?
That's a great question, and is sometimes the case. You see what comes out of the money and the strategists who kind of put together all this stuff, and it doesn't seem necessarily like what needs to be said all the time. I do trust that their polling tells them that this is less about people. I think the people who have to be reached, just from what I'm reading into it, it's less about that they feel like they need more information to make a decision on the merits of Newsom, so much as people just are not paying any attention and not feeling motivated to vote. And so that to me reinforces more of the turnout push than kind of an analytical, let us help you make a decision on whether he deserves to stay in office or not, based on who they think they need to reach. There may be some more targeted stuff as we go that we see when it gets closer to voting time. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping we've just seen a taste of it for the people who haven't been paying any attention, just to give them a month or so of ads that give them some of the partisan backdrop of what's really going on here. But that's just my guess.
Yeah, I try to avoid voicing my own opinion on these things because I'm just a newbie on this, but this seems like, we got to talk about what he did. He talked about that at the Roosevelt dinner, and it was really an impressive record of both saving lives and the economic bounce back. The state has structural problems, and we can all point to one or two things Governor Newsom did that maybe we wish he had not done. But by and large, he's doing a real good job. Well as anybody has.
Absolutely. And we are providing some of those points for the calling. I think that's a great opportunity. If you get someone who does want to chat and really isn't sure, there's no shortage of things to slip into that conversation. And, even more than an ad, that can be really persuasive when we happen to reach people.
Yeah. Michelle Krug has her hand raised. So Michelle, you have a question? I think I got to unmute her. Oh, Zoom hates me today. There we go. Ask to unmute. All right, you're good. Michelle.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. Just one tiny clarification. When Ryan mentioned that it's not enough to just look for the D and the R, but unfortunately in this particular case, Governor Newsom does not even have a D next to his name. It will not say Democrat. So I just wanted people to understand that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Michelle. That's a good point. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Jean Mullally raised a question about that speech that Governor Newsom gave at the Roosevelt dinner a few days ago. Will voters be able to see that speech? Will they even be releasing video?
I don't think the campaign will, but we're processing the fairly long video by the end of it at this point, and we'll be taking out that clip and just making sure there's no reason not to put it out there. But I can't think of any. We actually, we invited him and we thought we'd have him for about 5 minutes. He didn't know until Todd's introduction that he was the keynote officially. And so I guess he scrambled and decided to add another 15 minutes to his remarks, which I didn't mind a bit. I think we all kind of enjoyed hearing that. So it got us off schedule a little bit, but it was great to hear from him. So
yeah.
Yes, we're going to try to post that.
Yeah. So Miriam, that's great. That is great. Miriam Aguilar Escobar asks, what are the walk days for door hangers?
They haven't been set yet, but if you are not already on the county party's email list, we hope that you will sign up. Let me put it, if I can, right now. NoRecallSD.org. We're really putting all the updates as they happen every couple days there. So as soon as we have our walk dates around the county, at least the initial ones for those first couple weekends set, we will post them there, and we will spread the word far and wide, including, the stuff we usually do in election time. If we have your number, we'll probably be calling you and texting you and just making sure that because we don't have the build-up time we usually have to recruit people into these things. And I am adding my email address as well, ryan@sddemocrats.org. If you're interested in hosting an event or talking about what that would involve, please reach out and chat with me. And if it works out, we'd be happy to add one more location to the options out there.
Okay, yeah. Jack Shu, getting that echo again. There we go, it's gone. Jack Shu points out that Governor Newsom had the best approach to fight COVID-19 of any major state, which is true, but when you consider the major states are Florida and Texas, that is sadly not a high bar to clear. Sigh, that's my comment on that. Do you have anything to add to that, Ryan?
No, I mean, I'll just note that a couple of people in the chat have also just pointed out how badly our system needs to be reformed. It's ridiculous. It's way too easy to take advantage of. So yes, there should be a system where if there were ever a case for why we have a lieutenant governor, you would think it's this, to make sure that the party who voted everybody in gets to keep one of their people in if we lose the governor. I don't know why that isn't the case. And the threshold for signatures is way too low, way too easy to finance. And lower than it is in a lot of other states. So I hope, if anything, we get through this, we defeat this recall, and then I believe our legislature and governor and maybe the voters would be motivated to if that's what's required, to change the law to make sure this is much less likely to happen again for such manipulative and frivolous reasons.
Yeah, we could see a situation where somebody who gets like 9% of the vote in a low turnout election is our next governor, and
yeah,
that would be terrible no matter which party that person was. Let's see. I think we have only one more question that I'm going to keep in my pocket because it's a good last question. So are there any other questions in the chat for Ryan? Going once on further questions for Ryan. Going twice on further questions for Ryan. All right, the last question, that's a good one. Miriam wants to know if trainees get a certificate at the end of training.
Miriam, if you'd like a certificate, I'm sure we can arrange for one.
All right.
We're not planning on doing that, but if that incentivizes people, that might be a great idea to make it official.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's. I've been great. Yeah, like Steve says, like Steve Jajianka says. You have done a great job presenting for us. Thank you, Ryan. I've asked you a couple of dark questions here, but I'm actually looking forward to everybody working hard. We're going to beat this election. We'll send the Republicans back crying to their little mansions, unfortunately. But once again, and then we get to do it again in 2022. Oh yay! All right. Thank you very much, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay. So now is the time that we pass the virtual hat and ask you to contribute to the club. If you have not paid up your membership, please do so. And if you can make an additional contribution, please do that. You can do that at this URL, which I am about to cleverly paste into the chat. Well, oh no, Katie got to it already. She got a whole cut and paste thing there, which is lovely. This allows us to go back to live meetings in September. That's going to cost a couple of bucks, and also to importantly get Democrats elected to office, which is kind of what we're all here for. If you missed that, paste that text that Katie pasted in, which has URLs, you can just go to the website Mesa-Foothills-Democratic-Club.com and click on the Become a Member Contribute link at the top of the page. And now we're going to make time for local leaders to talk about things that are important to know about. Please raise your hand, not physically. Use the raise hand button or leave a message in the chat and we'll call on you and give you the floor for a moment or two. All right, let's look. I'm looking in the scroll for the raised hands. I'm looking in the text chat here. Jack Shu is actually going to go up first because he is our local council person and we like him and he asked first. So Jack, you're up. Let me take you off of mute. All right, there you go, Jack. You're up.
Thank you, Mitch. I just want to give a quick report of what's happening at the La Mesa City Council and in the city of La Mesa. I'll try to keep it very short. First, we do have a new police chief, Ray Sweeney. He's actually holding some workshops There's 3 more left every Thursday at the various schools. I think Lemon Avenue is tomorrow night. At City Hall, though, a lot of things have been happening. We've been dealing with a housing element, and there's a lot of major issues there. I've also proposed a task force to really address this issue of how we can expand the library in La Mesa, our county library. The city has really failed in the last 10 years to really address that. So I hope people will pay attention to that and contribute to that task force so that we do have a path to go forward. There's also a task force that I proposed, but the mayor wanted an actual commission to deal with the arts. And this is an idea that I and Bill Baber also now supports, and as well as Colin Parent, to use the arts to really promote the city in many ways. And that is in terms of culture, history, and really address issues like diversity and inclusion in our city using the arts. And I'm speaking of visual arts, music, all kinds of performing arts, architecture, all of that, and really tries to change the image of La Mesa, that it is a caring and diverse community, and we include everyone. Special events would also be included. Essentially, what I'm saying is La Mesa needs to be known more than just Oktoberfest and fancy cars. So I hope we can expand on that in our image. Lastly is that Monday night, this last Monday night, there was a special council meeting dealing with the climate action plan. We're out to redo our climate action plan, bring it up to date so our targets are current and not the old targets that were set more than 10 years ago. We're vastly behind. We need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions much faster. And I'm also proposing that we prorate that, which means if we have a target 10, 15 years from now, let's prorate that. And essentially, at the very least, that means we need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 2.5% this year. And if we can't measure it this year, it better be 5% next year that we actually reach that target. I don't want our obligation to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to be given to the next council or the next generation. So to me, that's an important thing. This will make it unique, our climate action plan, as well as some other changes I'm going forward with. Lastly, there's lots of things happening with the Air Pollution Control District Board, which I serve on, and SANDAG. SANDAG has a regional transportation plan. It just finished its public review period. That's going forward. It's important that we move forward on the transit aspects of that plan for East County and do it in the next 10 years. So we do have alternatives to driving. So I hope that's something that all of us can push to support. The very last point I'll make is that the special election that Ryan mentioned is important in La Mesa, given who is now, we now know who is running for that office. Laura Lothian, who ran before, has the best name recognition. She's Republican. She got about 1/3 of the vote last time. She can easily get more than that now. And because we have so many other candidates, it's important that we support one candidate and only one candidate. Otherwise, there's a very likelihood we'll lose the majority of them on the city council. That is the greatest threat that we've had. This is a bigger threat than we had before because in the last election, we had 2 endorsed candidates, 2 seats open, and of course, both Parent and I got in. Because it's a special election and the voter turnout is going to be low, this is a huge threat. We will lose our wave in East County if we lose this seat. And we'll lose it not because Lothian is strong. We'll lose it because we're divided. Our Democrats are divided. We need one Democratic candidate, and I really hope that we can stand behind one. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. So our next speaker is going to be Doug Case, who is a regular at our meeting. We're always happy to hear from him. Welcome, Doug, and I'm gonna ask you to unmute here and go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure I can unmute my video too, but I can't. Anyway, I will.
Oh, you should be able to.
Anyway, it says that I can't. No problem.
That's weird.
The last Last month I gave a summary of the state budget. So I thought this month I would talk about local things that are in the state budget. The city of San Diego region, or the San Diego region will benefit from $100 million over 2 years to deal with the homeless. With the city of San Diego set to receive $27 million in year one on homeless projects. This year's budget includes $50 million in funding for the region's pure water project. The city of San Diego has a goal to provide 1/3 of the city's wastewater through recycled pure water by 2035. And these funds will go toward that. The budget also includes $18 million in investment on the San Vicente pump station, which is a full renewable energy storage solution. Other projects include $35 million for the renovation of the San Diego College of Continuing Education's educational cultural complex, $8 million for the renovation of the iconic Ocean Beach Pier, and $30 million toward the phase 1 development and construction of a brand new replacement hospital for the UC San Diego Hospital in Hillcrest. So those are some of the local benefits of the $263 billion state budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Doug. So next up, we're going to hear from Suzanne Till.
Okay, can you hear me? I'm unmuted. Yes?
I can.
Great.
Yeah.
I do want to start off the bat and thank, I had heard Senator Atkins was very important in getting $50 million to Pure Water. I want to thank her. The thing that we need to do, in my opinion, I think our Republican state elected officials should be getting us money for advanced water purification. This is the big project in East County and I haven't seen anything. So I am hoping I think Dr. Weber, we can start setting up some liaison and have her start working on that, and any other allies on that, and even Senator Atkins too, because that we are actually working in conjunction with the city of San Diego Pure Water on that. For some of you, I just want to thank you. Water boards in East County are moving forward, and in the summer, in a time of COVID, have decided to charge late fees starting in August and shutoffs in October for people who are not able to pay their water bills. This is a violation of the California Human Right to Water, and they are moving forward. I want to thank Bonnie Price and Janet Garvin. They showed up today. I'm a director at Padre Dam Municipal Water District, and voiced their concern. Something did happen today at the meeting. The directors are hiding behind it, and they're saying, according to Proposition 218, they are required just to go in this direction, charge late fees, shut off water, and do also property tax liens. They did decide to get a legal opinion of this, which is good. We can at least have something, because we think they're hiding behind Proposition 218 on this. Helix Water District, move forward on this. Please voice your concern, La Mesa. This is wrong. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Our next speaker is going to be Michaela Zimmerman. Go ahead, Michaela.
Oh, perfect. Sorry, it was taking a minute to unmute. Can I do my camera? Hi, everybody. How's it going? Thank you so much for having me this evening. And I'm really excited to hear about the Stop the Republican Recall phone banks, because Congressman Jacobs is actually going to be hosting one next week. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that info in the chat. But first, I wanted to give you some updates. Somebody from your group actually brought up the concerns of the issue of rehoming some Afghan nationals after the United States leaves and has our military presence kind of removed. And Congressman Jacobs applauds the Biden administration in order to do this action. And so it's really nice because these folks and their loved ones might not have been eligible for a special immigrant visa, but they are going to be eligible to resettle permanently in the United States with this program. And it's called the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program. And it's really incredible because in San Diego, we have tons of resources for our refugees and tons of resources for folks that are going to be resettled as well. And so it's good to be taking care of the folks who are also taking care of us abroad. Another thing that we've been kind of focused on over on this team is the eviction moratorium, and how on the federal level, we did fail to act but Congresswoman Jacobs is incredibly disappointed and is always issuing a statement on how she wants to make sure that her constituents are protected. Fortunately, San Diego and California, are not going to be moving forward with those evictions just yet. But we also want to make sure that our other folks and Democrats in Congress are also held accountable, and they're also looking out for their constituents. So I'm really looking forward to working with you all. And now we're kind of gearing up for our special election and then the November La Mesa City Council election. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to working with you, and thank you for having me.
Okay. Our last speaker, I believe, is Tommy Howe, but if anybody else wants to speak, please raise your hand while Tommy is speaking. So, whoops, wait, lost, oh darn. Hold on, a little technical glitch here. Wouldn't be a Zoom meeting without technology problems. There we go. All right, take it away, Tommy.
Thank you very much, Mitch. I appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. Tommy Howe, San Diego County Planning Commissioner and candidate for San Diego City Council in District 6, which includes the communities of Mira Mesa and Kearney Mesa, Claremont, Rancho Penasquito, Sorrento Valley, and MCAS Miramar. And it's good to be here tonight. I really appreciated Ryan's remarks regarding the recall and the conversations that we've been having with our neighbors, primarily in Mira Mesa. It's strange how there's a lot of Democrats who have this idea that I don't support the recall. I don't want Newsom recall. Therefore, I'm not going to acknowledge the ballot. And we've been making sure that we remind everybody that, yes, you have to tear open the ballot and you got to mark that no and then mail it back. So I hope we can get the word out to all of our Democrats and supporters of Governor Newsom to make sure that we stop this recall. I appreciate the party getting that one-stop shopping page up, by the way. That's going to be very, very handy to use. It was nice hearing from Suzanne Till just a couple of minutes ago. I'm very proud to have Suzanne Till as one of the endorsers of our campaign for San Diego City Council. We had a pretty big day today. We had an endorsement come in from District 3 Supervisor Tara Lawson-Reamer for our campaign. So obviously we're very, very excited about that. We've coordinated an event with Supervisor Lawson-Reamer that's going to happen on August the 29th. That'll be an event in Mira Mesa. We'll be getting more information out about that, but there is information about that currently at my website at tommyhough.com. That's HOUGH.com. Just real quickly, Mitch, I was pleased Tara mentioned in her remarks, a couple of the reasons that she was supporting our campaign was, one, my environmental commitment and my commitment to ensure that our city's climate action plan, that is the city of San Diego's climate action plan, is brought up to speed. Jack was going over some of these points as well about how state guidelines have actually surpassed where the city of San Diego is right now. We need to get the city in line with the state, and we need to be doing better than that. Pure water as well. I know Suzanne was talking about that. That's going to be a big impact in District 6 along Miramar Road. We're looking at a lot of construction there. So I've been speaking to a lot of the outlets with the city about how Miramar is going to wind up being A, opened, and B, closed and sealed and paved again. So infrastructure is a big issue for our neighbors in District 6. And it's difficult. The last point I'll make is just, you know, when my neighbors hear about what's happening at City Hall with 101 Ash Street, with the city attorney saying they don't want to pay their rent for another space, I don't think our friends downtown understand how that lands on the ears of my neighbors. And when they can't get money to go and rebuild a road or change a street light, that's a real problem. And that's part of the reason I'm running for San Diego City Council. I don't come from that downtown culture. I am running to represent our neighborhoods and our District 6 communities. That's why I say neighborhoods first. My name is Tommy Howe, candidate for San Diego City Council in District 6. I hope to earn your support, and I'll drop my information in the chat. Great meeting tonight, Mitch. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Tommy. Marilyn Riley made an interesting comment in the comments, and I just want to read it into the record here without necessarily endorsing it or opposing it. She says, I am sad and disappointed that Tony and other Democratic electeds endorsed Gore #2 for sheriff. The woman is a lifelong Republican who changed her registration the day after the November election. So next up, we're going to hear from David Myers. David, you're up. David, you should be able to unmute now.
How about now?
There you go.
There we go. That wasn't a setup. I don't know what is. So hi, everybody. Dave Myers. As I was pretty interesting, as I was going on the membership page to renew membership, I looked over to a tweet that the Mesa-Foothills Democratic Club tweeted out regarding the announcement that Sheriff Bill Gore would not seek re-election. And the comment was good riddance to a bad sheriff. Now, I couldn't agree more. As you know, for the past couple of years, I've continued my advocacy to improve law enforcement in this town. I do plan on announcing that I am going to be running for sheriff again, formal announcement with our policies on August 26th. Look for that, please. And I would ask the members to be very, very cautious, because the day after the sheriff announced he would not seek re-election, probably in my opinion, one of the worst sheriffs ever, announced his anointment and support for one of his subordinates within the sheriff's department. And you know what I would ask members to, if and when this person ever shows up, is ask the same questions. What have you done? What have you done the entire time you've been there? Including, what did you do when you were in charge of the sheriff's response to the La Mesa riots, when you were the person authorizing the use of force, the shooting of tear gas, the pepper ball, the beanbag rounds? What was your responsibility? What did you approve? When did you approve it? And then when La Mesa opened up the books and did a self-evaluation of their response to the La Mesa riots, the sheriff's office and this person that Bill Gore has endorsed refused to participate in a transparent review of police response. So I'll have more later in our announcement as it comes up. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dave. All right, next up, we're going to hear from Michelle Krug. Again, Michelle.
Thank you, Mitch. Just want to remind people that the August e-board meeting for the California Democratic Party is coming up August 25th through the 29th. Although I did hear that they may actually start trainings as early as the 23rd, which is a Monday. So just go to the cadem.org website. They keep promising me shortly they'll have a tentative agenda up. But you can go to all of the caucuses for free. You can go to the standing committees. Check out how your party is being run. All of those are open and transparent. And take advantage of it while it's still virtual. You don't have to pay for hotels or fees. The other thing is that the CDP is also holding some very good anti-bias training classes. They're called the Jedi classes, and they happen for August on the 2nd and the 4th Tuesday. September, it switches to the 1st and the 3rd, and October, it's the 1st and the 3rd. And they actually add a last one on, I think it's the last day, whatever the last Tuesday is of this month is going to be an additional. So I guess it's the 5th Tuesday. So that's all. Just take advantage of the time that we are still in the virtual world to get your base for moving forward. So when we have things like these recall election, we have more connections to deal with it and more opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, so I think we've wrapped up on questions. I'm going to give you one more opportunity to raise your hand. Any members who want to speak? If you're eating popcorn now, lick your fingers and get that done real fast, because I'm going to close the door very soon. 1, 2, 3. All right, we're done. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. Look for a replay of this meeting soon on the YouTube channel. I'll upload the video over the next couple of days. Just search for La Mesa-Foothills Democratic Club on YouTube and subscribe while you're there. Also look for links to the video on our website, Facebook page and group, and on our Twitter account, and I'll send out an email blast on that soon. The website is lamesafoothillsdemocraticclub.com, or if that's too much for you to type, lmfdems.com. The Facebook page and group have the same name as the club. We have both a page and a group because Facebook makes no sense. On Twitter, we're LMFDems, And if you want to sign up for our email updates, go to the website and look for the Get Email Updates link at the top of the page. Thank you to the board for their hard work arranging this meeting, and also thanks to our speakers and to you for spending some of your valuable time with us. So this is where I usually say thanks for staying with us, and we hope to see you again soon in real life, but instead I'm going to say we plan to see you again soon in real life. I don't want to say more than that and jinx anything, but we're planning on meeting Wednesday, September 1st at our usual time and place from the before time, the La Mesa Community Center, 4975 Memorial Drive in La Mesa. We'll have a panel discussion about the recall election with local pundits and leaders. Programming starts at 7 with social time and unstructured conversation starting at 6:30 p.m. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have our delicious snacks back at that meeting, but maybe in October, hopefully in October. On a personal note, I want to say it has been a privilege having all of you here in my home office, mere feet from my bedroom, 17 times now since April 2020. I am the first to admit that I am woefully underqualified to host these meetings, but the board asked me to do it way back 17 months ago because I'm the tech and communications guy, and I said, yeah, okay. I hope you found my work satisfactory. I've enjoyed it and it's been fulfilling, but I'm glad it's done and I can just go back to sitting in the audience at meetings with the rest of you. I'm very much looking forward to seeing those of you who I haven't gotten to see since the before time and meeting others of you for the first time in real life. Good night, everybody. Stay healthy, stay sane, and we'll see you again soon, really soon, we hope.